Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about getting getting to associate level too early. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, only started programming about 3 years ago, and now I got hired as an associate software engineer. I'm scared I won't be able to handle it. Do you have any advice for me? Well, I'm going to be completely transparent with you and say I'm not really sure what an associate software engineer is. I'm assuming here that you're working in a startup or something like that, and they want you to be the CTO or like some a person of technical influence within the company, a decision maker or something like that. I'm guessing now, or I don't know, the lead developer, depending on the size of the company, something like that. And so if you get there after 3 years, it's well, it's I wouldn't say that it's too early because I mean, guys, there are people who are starting their own companies or like running the show after a year of working, and it really depends on the type of the company and who you are and like aptitudes and stuff like that, personal maturity and like all of these other fluffy, very hard to pinpoint things. Uh, the best tip that I can give you though is one that I think that we should all strive to as much as possible. The problem here is that it requires a fair bit of personal incentive. I mean, if you've already made it to an associate software engineer, I think that you should just reflect a little bit on if this is what you want. Do you want to do this thing? Because I can tell you that there is this idea that the higher up you go the ladder, the better you're going to feel. And I can tell you that that is not true. I know that that's not true. I know it's very popular around the world, and we sell this idea that the higher up the decision making chain you are, the better off you are. And that's not true. You might be paid more, but you also have to remember that just as I like to say that getting the highest salary or like lying on your CV or you are making people believe that you're a super developer, there are benefits to that. But remember that that also sets expectations on you and it increases the pressure. So if you go into a job interview and convince everybody that you're a master programmer when you're actually not, the pressure is now up. You've created your own pressure, and now you have to deliver. And if you can't deliver, they're going to get rid of you. And the same thing goes for going higher up the ladder. Just because you are, if you are a really happy super engineer or you're really enthusiastic about software engineering, that doesn't necessarily mean that just because you go one level higher that you're going to be as happy. I know people who are truly the sort of people who really do well in management types of positions where they're really, really good at software engineering, and at the same time they're also very enthusiastic about helping people and planning out work and being involved. They just care, they really want to do well. I used to work with this dude at my last team, and there was a position that came up in the early days where basically we needed, the company was growing and we were scaling up, and so there was a question to the senior engineers in the team, and they asked, okay, so basically we need someone to help out our product owner a little bit because he's overworked, and we need someone with a technical perspective that can help plan out work and groom stories and facilitate and stuff like that. And I just kind of immediately said, if because there was two other guys that I was working with, I said to them, if none of you guys want to do this, if you really don't want to do this, I will do this because I think I can do the job. It will not be my favorite thing in the world to do, but I think I can do it, and I think I can do it really well. And then I pointed at my coworker and I said, but you are born to do this. And we started laughing a little bit. I mean, I was completely honest with them because I've never met a person who had such a perfect combination of. He was an extremely good developer. He was also extremely he was able to talk to people like put things in layman's terms. He was really good at documenting things and making creating flow charts and like doing all this sort of administrative work. And he didn't do it just because you told him. He did it like organically. He just did it because he felt that this was something that was really important to do to show people. He had that. He had a talent. He had a knack for it. So I told him, like, you should take this job. And I knew that I was giving up a promotion opportunity. But later on, I got another opportunity that was much more in line with what I wanted to do, which was the thing that I actually went for. And I still was able to get to where I wanted. So the advice that I can give, first and foremost thing I want you to think about is, do you actually want this? Because I can tell you right now, there are a few people that I've met who actually became very miserable when they stopped being coders only, or like when they got out of their role. They were doing something that felt really good, it felt really awesome for them, and just because they wanted to progress, or like they wanted to get the leg up, they left that thing that was so awesome for something that they didn't really want to do. And the thing is, I think that I'm gonna get a little bit personal here. I'm gonna say that if you have something that works, then it's worth keeping that thing around, even though it might not be sustainable forever. I think that you should stick by that until an opportunity that feels even better comes along. Or you can, of course, create your situations and so forth. But what I'm saying is, don't trade in something that you love to do for something that you think you should do, because that is usually not a good trade. There has to be some, I think that you should have a little bit more incentive. That's one thing. The other thing is, if you want to get any advice from me, is I'm going to quote Bruce Lee on this. I'm going to say, you're going to have to be like water. You're going to have to figure out what the requirements of your role is. And this kind of ties into the whole thing I was saying about knowing if you actually want to do this. Because even if you just have a few years of experience, you can nail this. This dude that I was working with, he had worked at one company before, I think. He had 2 or 3, roughly your years of experience, and he picked up the job like that. And today he's, I would say, at the position where, he can run the show. Like, there's no problem at all. Like, I will gladly be the first person to say that he has been working on some high profile stuff, like with people who have been doing it for 15, 20, 30 years more than than he has, and he can hold his own. He can meet all the expectations, and he's really good at it. And that can happen for you as well. But you have to understand what the role entails, and you have to adapt. So try to figure out what are the requirements, what are the expectations on you, and then go and learn the skills and practice the skills that you need in order to do the job well. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you find yourself being promoted very early on, or you get to be an associate or a principal or whatever we call them these days, the first and foremost thing you really need to ask yourself is, do you want to do this? Because just as being a software developer, just as being anything, a bit of incentive and actual enjoyment goes a long way when you're going to go through the harder part, which is to become like water. You need to adapt to the situation. You need to understand what the skills, the relevant skills are, and you need to get good at those things. And some of them are going to suck. You might not like them, or maybe you're going to just be as my coworker who just loved practically, or more or less everything, and just kind of went for it. Regardless of which way you pick, I think that you really have to remember that adaptation is key. Adapt and try to identify people who can teach you how to be better at the thing that you are, and continuously try to improve this thing, as I was saying, being like water. Adapt to the situation and learn as you go along. That is probably the best thing you can do. Have a great day.